lovely corner. Here we go. 5,
Oh, that's where my baby
4,
stays.
3, 2. Here we are, once again at the very lovely and today a very sunny corner of Glenwood and Lunt. We are in the heart of Rogers Park, the cozy and bustling corner of oh man, I screwed it up. Of Lunt and Glenwood. Good morning to everybody. It's Michael James up here with my foot in my mouth. Trying to rhyme and keep in rhythm. I'm here with Katie Hogan.
I know you can do it, Michael. I know you can.
No, I came up with this, actually, son Katie came up with the cozy and bustling corner.
Or the boozy and cussling.
Yeah.
No cussing allowed.
Okay,
Yeah.
so we're here with another edition of the Live from the Heartland show, and we come to you every Saturday morning over WLUW, Chicago Sound Alliance, 88.7. You can get us anywhere in the world at WLUW.org. And for all of you people who are so enthused and inclined, you may go to youtube.com/heartlandmedia, and you can see lots of groovy people, lots of people working to change the world, a lot of interesting cultural clips, and you probably have a pretty good time. So, Katie, what do we got going on today?
Well, it's a very busy weekend in the neighborhood. It's today's the day you can get your vehicle sticker over at the 49th Ward office. You can also shred documents today, folks. So let that be a call to empty out those files.
And there doesn't appear to be any construction on this side of the L tracks.
Hallelujah.
It's the first time in weeks you could drive around. You could drive down Glenwood from the north, and you could take a right onto Lunt.
Yeah, you can do all those things. You can actually motivate through the neighborhood.
You know, there's a lot of grumbling about work going on, but I think that we really we're for infrastructure improvement, and there is a little bit of sacrifice that has to come with that. So get ready for June 29th. June 29th, they'll close the Morse Lunt L stop for about 6 weeks. So hopefully you'll all be using your bicycles, driving, walking, running. Or maybe we'll pick you up in a rickshaw somewhere.
We also have Pride Day tomorrow, which means no one will drive between Belmont and Diversey for about 5 hours. And of course, Pride Up North, which our neighbors at the Glenwood Bar sponsor, that brings us our own little mini Pride Day right here on Glenwood Avenue on Sunday afternoon from 4 p.m. to 10 p.m. Lots of dancing in the street and music and, you know.
And the No Exit will be open serving some delicious food and drinks, too, right there in the midst of it all.
There should be an ambisexual day or weekend.
What does that mean?
Well, it means I'm not telling. I just like sex. You know. If I would ever have it.
Katie Hogan, you're making up for all the mistakes I mumbled in the beginning.
Okay.
Okay, so today we got an old friend, Mary Powers is coming up. She's going to talk about Citizens Alert. She'll start us off a little bit after that. We're going to have Salvador Conte and Bridget Timmerman, and they are talking about a film they're making called Sydney Has No Horses. And then we've got another old pal, Bob Rudner, is going to come up with Who Knows Who. There, he's waiting on a crew, and we're going to talk about Metro High School and alternative education, something that was started in about 42 years ago. Didn't last as long as we wish it had, but we're going to recount some of those activities and experiences.
Sounds good. Let's get it going.
Let's get going. Okay. Good morning to you, Mary Power.
Good morning to you.
Good morning and welcome back to the Heartland, Mary.
Thanks, Katie.
You know, Mary, I think I've seen you since, but one of the most important times when I ever saw you was in 1991. It was it was in Managua, Nicaragua, and the Sandinistas had just lost the election. A lot of us in our circles weren't that happy. I was without a camera that worked, and you loaned me a camera.
I did.
So that I have document. I have lots of pictures of the throngs in Managua protesting the way the vote had gone, and Buddhist monks chanting away amidst all the radicals. It was quite an experience, and I'm glad I've got those pictures somewhere.
Oh, I hope
Did you
have
get
them somewhere.
Did you get your camera back?
I got my camera, but not the pictures.
Well, we're gonna
wherever they are.
He's got them.
I actually took 40 rolls of negatives to have them turned into JPEGs, so that's a start. A few years of my pics will start showing up on Facebook and who knows where. All right, so we got you up here today because I saw in the paper, or I got an e-news, that you were getting an award at Wellington Avenue Church last week or the week before.
The 9th.
The 9th, and it was for Citizens Alert and the great work that you do. Tell us a little bit about Citizens Alert and what you do.
Well, we're a police watchdog group, commonly called, and we're working for police accountability. We were formed in 1967. I got involved right after the Panther raid, and
Which was
I've been
1969.
volunteering ever since in a variety of ways, from observing parades and demonstrations and marches and reporting on whatever police interference there was, to taking complaints over the phone, to monitoring police board meetings every month, to you name it, whatever. It's hard to say what we do, because whoever calls us with a complaint or a question, we try to respond to it.
Let me just throw this in that I always was a little perplexed if Citizens Alert, as it is now, is the same group that was started in Uptown by Fred Glick and others back during the Joint Community Union days. And it turns out that
It sure was.
It sure was. So I remember going to early meetings when we talked, and this was before the Black Panther Party started following the police around, which was a tactic that the police didn't like, and they didn't like it in Uptown much either.
No.
But that's what
Surprise,
we did a little
surprise.
bit, and we reported on any injustices, perceived or otherwise. And so I'm so glad that this offshoot of Join endures today.
It
And
sure
you've been
does.
with it a long time.
I've been with it. Well, we've been organized since 45 years. This is our 45th year. I haven't been involved personally that long, but like
But if you
about
started
40,
after
42, something like
if
that.
you started after the Panther raid, that was
Right.
in December of '69.
Right.
God love you, Mary Powers.
No, thank you.
I don't
and lots of other people have been too. I was honored that night, kind of because of longevity, because all of my colleagues are.
I'm looking forward to that, too.
You mean if we hang out
most of
long
my
enough?
colleagues that did everything I did are gone now, so I felt like an imposter in a way, and tried to make that point that
Oh, Mary.
I was one of the many people who did these things.
Do you
But
hear
we need volunteers as much, even more than we did in the early days, and I really hope anybody that has a few hours a week that would like to get involved will give us a ring.
What's the most noted case in your mind of your watchdog work about police activity and perceived injustice?
I think it was a 14-year-old victim of John Burge, George Risper. And George was as far as we know, the youngest victim. And he was waiting for his mom in a coffee shop on the south side, and there was a shootout across the street, and the police went around looking for witnesses and pulled George in and framed him into
A confession?
yeah, a confession. And anyhow, went downhill from there, but we did lots of organizing around that.
Did he survive it?
He came through pretty well at the time, but like so many other people, that experience is so terrible that his life was really ruined. As far as the last I heard, he was in prison. This promising kid who was an all-A student and very popular at his school, and a star basketball player, and all of that ended up another wasted life.
Mary, it's hard for young people today to understand, some of the roots of, say, a group like this, Citizens Alert, that was so necessary when it began, and it was so obvious, the extraordinary measures that went unpunished by the police force then. Can you make any kind of comparison from having been active all this time in watching the police? What's better? What still needs work in terms of our role governing our police force? And what is to be hopeful about? What do we still need to bring the hammer down on.
Well, there have been some good policy changes and things like that, but in practice, it's almost as bad as it was then. There are new atrocities. I mean, in the last 20 years or so, we found out about police torture, which God knows no one had ever heard of in those days. We hope that's behind.
Except all the countries that we send money to do that.
Well, of course.
Train them.
Yeah, but
Of
back in the
course, of
60s
course.
and early 70s, I don't remember us talking about police torture.
No.
Yeah.
That
It was
certainly
going on,
starting
but we
in-
didn't know. Right.
But, we get complaints every day, and there's so many complaints we don't get. We know that this stuff goes on in the street every day. We know that people go unpunished. People don't file complaints. They think nothing's going to happen. They're right most of the time.
Right.
We've worked really hard for systemic change and getting rid of the old Office of Professional Standards and passed an ordinance that established a new independent police review authority, which does not report to the police department. It turned out to be a fiasco. I mean, it was great on paper. We worked so hard over every word in the ordinance, and it might as well not be there. The statistics are so bad. The everything within that whole department is there's going to be there's increasing publicity around the corruption within the and negligence within that organization. On July 21st, the Chicago Alliance Against Political and Racist Repression is going to have a hearing at Kennedy King, a community hearing on police crimes, and the point is to try to promote the idea of community control of the police. That's not a new idea, but maybe it's finally going to be accepted. Who knows?
Well, we often have on this program Tracy Siska of the Chicago Justice Project, right?
Well, we have the Chicago Coalition on Police Accountability was formed by Citizens Alert, and the Justice Project is one of the groups within that coalition. So in fact, we just met yesterday in our monthly meeting, and Tracy does the research kind of for the group, or shares his research with the group.
I feel like his work has been, or their work has been really useful.
Yes, indeed.
Didn't they help reconstitute the police board, or at least the way it's...
Well, he did the research for the ordinance, yeah.
Yeah.
And
How do people know about your group? How do people learn about it? I mean, it's not like there's a real active propaganda machine letting people know about your activities. To be frank, I hadn't heard about things for a few years, and then it was when I saw this email that you were going to be honored. So I'm just wondering how people out in the field who may be in need of some help around alleged police abuse would be, how to come to you.
They don't know. That's part of our problem. We've never had time to do PR, or we've never had money or extra personnel or time to do community outreach. I mean, when someone offers us an opportunity like today or to go to a community group to talk, we welcome that. But because we're out of all those years, we maybe a quarter of that time we've had paid staff. We've always been a volunteer group. So we're carefully dealing out our time on, to deal with the problems that come to us.
Right.
So we don't have time to do that outreach. That's why we
You guys have a website?
We do have a website.
All right.
We do, yeah.
Welcome
and
to
And the email for them is info@citizensalert.org, and the phone number is 312-413-3444.
So, and you mentioned before the show started that you were donated space at Jane Addams?
Yes, so we're on the UIC campus now.
Are you
we
in?
don't have paid staff, so there's not someone in the office
All the
24 hours a day or even 8 hours a day to take complaints. But if anybody leaves a message on that, we return the
You
call
follow it
within 24 hours if we can possibly do that.
Let me ask you, Mary, has there anyone in your organization that has developed some good rapport with some people in the police department? while we're talking about alleged police brutality, well, let's not use the word alleged anymore. We've had some real serious transgressions of what normal relations between people and the police. But we know that there are certainly a number of officers who do care about being good police people and do not like it when other police officers act out. Do you have some rapport with some people on the inside, so to speak?
We do. We've always tried to have one or two police officers on our board to kind of keep us honest. And we don't have any particularly good relations at this time with the upper echelon. We used to have, but we haven't pursued that the last few years, and that's too bad. Although sometimes it's a waste of time. It depends on our attitude toward whoever is in power.
Mary, when CAPS, the community policing program, began, about almost 20 years ago now, did you have did you encourage participation with that, or did you observe anything from folks' participation with the CAPS program, the community policing?
Well, we did. We were part of some of the community groups with Mary Volpe and some of the people on the west side trying to put that together, the whole program. We figured one thing was, if you're meeting with people and having coffee and you're not calling them pigs and they're not beating you over the head when you leave. So
that's a step forward, huh?
So it wasn't with a real optimistic hope that CAPS would be the answer to everything, and that's certainly proven to be true. But we did get very involved in the beginning, and I think it's too bad that it's faded away though it certainly never lived up to its promise.
The CAPS program.
Yeah. It's funny. I grew up on the Southwest Side where a lot of back then, a lot of cops lived.
Yeah.
And they still do.
They still
do in Mount Greenwood, which is a world unto itself. Scary world, if you're anything
I didn't
but
know we had
white.
mountains down there on the southwest side.
You didn't know what?
We had mountains down there. Mount Greenwood.
Dun-dun-dun. Okay. As I was saying.
Anyhow,
I actually took the cop test, the cop exam, in the summer of my 25th year. Sort of in the notion of Gloria Steinem becoming a Playboy bunny to get inside, and I thought this was a little easier. I didn't have to get undressed to do it, but I also had no intention of ever carrying a weapon. I just wanted to see, get through the process to see if there was any possibility of actually being an officer friendly, because I really did want to see how it occurred that they all became these bullies, racist, and really awful, scary people with weapons. But I was a AAA candidate, went through a lot of different processes, and even got an oral interview, at which point I think they looked into my eyes and saw me for what I was. And 3 months later I met him and started the Heartland. So in a lot of ways, sitting here on this corner over the years, we do policing of our neighborhood.
Of course.
Any small business person who isn't hiding under their counter is the other thing, is dealing with possible issues, problems, chasing down bad guys, or interrupting fights, or moving kids along who are scaring the neighbors and using bad language and all that sort of thing. And it just seems to me that there's so much more that citizens can do to be engaged before issues become out of hand and unsolvable. And that if, for example, shopkeepers, owners of businesses actually went out and introduced themselves to the neighborhood kids or whatever, that you avoid a tremendous amount of wasted and hurtful energy in a community. And I don't know, there's no question at the end of that, I guess.
Mary, we only have a couple minutes left, so why don't you share some things you would like to get out?
Number one, we need help. Number two, the police department needs help, and it needs that monitoring. And also, I wanted to respond to Katie's thing about the neighborhood police, the neighborhood policeman, 99% of the cops don't get involved in this sort of thing.
No.
Maybe 99% is a little exaggeration, but I've heard police officers themselves say they're 5% really good cops, they're really professional, that take their work seriously, go to work every day, do their very best. Or another 5% that are out there beating people up and doing everything they can to further their own career, no matter how it affects the community.
Yeah.
But the group in between are just like everybody else, going to work, doing their job, doing a good job, doing a bad job, collecting their paycheck. It's not that we're condemning all the police, but what we are saying is unless there are people that are monitoring them, they can always fall into that other percentage. And there's always the opportunity for that to happen, and I think we really need to reinforce those good cops, but we have to monitor the policies that they're supposed to be following, and we have to really follow up on the discipline. And that is not happening, no matter what good policies and changes like IFRA that we tried to get through. That's a mess. It has to be replaced again. We're doing an ordinance now. We're working out an ordinance to change the ordinance that established. So, it's a work in progress, and it really requires everybody watching all the time. So,
One last question. Are there other examples around the country or the world where citizens groups monitor the police and it's institutionalized and the police are happy with it on some level, and the community is? I mean, are we the only place? Are there other cities where it's more advanced?
Oh no, there are lots of other cities. We have a national coalition on police accountability that brings people from those various cities together periodically. We haven't had a conference for a few years. The last was in Portland, Oregon. Portland Cop Watch has been one of the pioneers in this sort of work, and just a wonderful example. Minneapolis has another great group, but there are cities across the country who have formed watchdog groups of one kind or another.
Mary Powers, we want to honor you live from the Heartland for your lifetime of commitment.
Oh, Katie, thank
Really.
you.
We do
Thanks a
honor
lot.
Thanks.
All right, if you want to get a hold of Mary Powers or Citizens Alert, you could go to citizensalert.org. You could go to info@citizens